So that once again, when you try to put this together, drop your tempo. The metronome can be very helpful with that. Find out where you're doing it with your left hand. When you're just running through the chords with your left hand, find your tempo. Drop down at least 8 BPMs or more when you're trying to add your right hand to it. It's a lot for your brain to process. Now, I'm going to show you a few things. You're playing 4-note chords. You're basically playing all of the notes that are in the chord. Okay? But I want you to see, not in the chord. So that's part of what might be giving your mind a little bit of a run for the money. It's a 13. Not in the chord, it's a 9. And that'll happen here again, same spot, 13. Where am I? 9. Each time that starting note is a 9. It's not in the A minor 7. So just keep that in mind. That's a 9. And that's a 9. Once you've got the left hand and right hand together, down slow, crank it up one notch at a time on your metronome and see if you can do it. Where you start really just stumbling a lot, leave it there, come back the next day, maybe bring it down one and keep progressing that way. You should find yourself at a decent pace within a short period of time. Now, last time we were working on this, I was showing you ways to improvise. So one of them would not be, the one would just be little garnishes, so to speak. See what I did there? Sound a little hokey or lounge piano sometimes when you do stuff like that, but it's a start, you know what I mean? It's something, and then you realize, oh, that's hokey there, and then you don't do it anymore. Or what? Little grace notes that you're not supposed to slide your finger on, by the way, like I just did. Use a different finger, you get a cleaner sound. See that? You get your melody secure, and then you start to play with it. Sorry about that. Alright. Learning how to improvise little by little. Finding out what sounds cool and what might sound a little like, you know, not cool. Then, one of the ways that you can start to figure out, you can start on any note, preferably within the chord, but it doesn't have to be. For now, let's do that. Start on the 3rd. And then you pick a direction. This is a little like what I showed you last time, but it's much easier. Now, they weren't all in the chord, but it sounded good. And this is the nature of that B major 7. Everything sounds good in it. You can use any note of the scale, you know? I just use every note of the B major scale. It sounds good, you know? Anywhere I choose to land. Probably the least favorite. That's another thing you can do, is you can just, no time.
That's because all the black notes work well together, right?
Yes, but that's aside, we'll talk about that some other time. But I'm specifically using the notes of the B major scale. Now I use D mixolydian, in other words, I flat my 7 like you do in the chord. And then just... Okay, so no time, this is a great way to learn how to improvise, by the way, when there's no pressure of trying to keep up with the measures. And then go to your next chord. G major. You know, your hands will get you going with that stuff sooner than you think. You can even go even slower and just go into a more of a melodic mode. Nothing but the G major scale there. And that'll be a way where you can, very, in a relaxed atmosphere, B flat mixolydian, and it's the fifth mode, it's the one where I flat the 7, because I have a B flat 7. I want to throw a grace note in there, it's perfectly fine, but I'm just saying, you know, that didn't belong there, but it sounded good. It's how you be expressive on the piano. You need those grace notes because otherwise you can't bend the note like you can on sax or a guitar. That, or your own version of it. You know, it doesn't have to be my version of it, but that's generally speaking a really good way to learn the ins and outs of you know, how to do it with my fingers and what's going to sound good. You just stick with the scale. Worry about the extra notes later. When I stick with the scale, I already have, because I have a 7 here, that's a 13. I already have fanciness without altering anything. That's a 13. That's a 9. Very cool sound right there, right? Very soulful, very R&B. To not hang out on that. Sounds okay, but this sounds, you know, way more expressive, is what I'm saying. You know. All right, so don't be afraid to do that, to spend practice time just screwing around, for lack of a better term. You know, just exploring, experimenting. That's how you learn. It's the way to learn.